no plans at all. Evil man's always transcending. Fighter like sheep, swallow everything. Always simpletons or pretending. We got no plans.
This is your moment of clarity, coming to you live from the Cayman Islands, where I'm investigating tax havens. You can keep up with those videos at operationcaymans.org. But right now I want to bring you my conversation with a couple of amazing and respected activists. Dr. Margaret Flowers, who's a congressional fellow with Physicians for a National Health Program and has actually been called the medic fighting Wall Street. Also Kevin Zeese, who directs the anti-war group Come Home America and the economic justice group It's Our Economy. He and Dr. Flowers also helped organize the October 2011 occupation of Washington, D.C. in Freedom Plaza, which is where I first met them, and they helped organize Occupy the Debates. I met up with them while I was performing at Occupy the Debates in Denver a little over a week ago. Also on the bill that night was the Raging Grannies. I'm going to play a little bit of their stuff. If you haven't seen them, you're going to love it. And please make sure Moment of Clarity continues by becoming a member at leecamp.net. And here now is my conversation with Kevin Zeese and Margaret Flowers.
Well, what we're trying to do through Occupy the Debates is show the disconnect between the corporate-controlled debates, the corporate-controlled candidates, and what they're allowed to talk about, and the issues that people actually do care about, and the solutions that people actually want to see. So we're trying to bring people together to talk about those issues and solutions and push them out there.
We're trying to broaden the dialogue beyond what the corporations allow.
That would be a quick way to say it.
And one of the things you mentioned just a second ago, which I will pay you $1 billion if it gets mentioned in the debates, is the Transpacific Partnership.
It will not be mentioned in the debates.
So I'm kind of just learning about it like that. I mean, it's incredibly secretive.
Yes.
And so what is the Trans-Pacific Partnership?
Well, TPP stands for Toilet Paper Plus.
Right.
No, not really. It stands for Trans-Pacific Partnership, and it's the largest trade agreement in history. Obama's trade representative is negotiating it right now, and it's going to be a gigantic job outsourcing, hollowing out of our economy, kind of a treaty. And it's one that can set the terms for trade for really the whole world, because it allows a docking agreement where other nations can dock it and join it. And so while it's being negotiated right now with the Pacific Rim countries, that's Australia, the United States, and some small countries, and we're trying to bully the small countries to accept a terrible treaty, it's going to become the trade regimen for the world.
And this has a huge impact on all of our lives. And
Globally.
why is it no one has a say, and most people have never heard of it?
Well, it's really interesting because there's 600 corporate trade advisors that are working with Ron Kirk, the president's trade representative, and they have real-time access to the the text as it's being negotiated, so they can advise on it.
They actually get it on their computer.
Yeah.
So they can on their computer they can send back to the trade rep. Here's an amendment we suggest. But our Congress members can't see it. The people can't see it. The media can't see it. But these 600 advisors.
Sounds kind of like ALEC.
And it's got
agreements about legislation.
The trade tribunals. They're creating a whole court system for corporations, where a corporation can sue a country for projected lost profits because of an environmental law, a labor law, a consumer law, a health law, whatever it is. They can say, we're going to lose $10 million because of that environmental law, Vietnam, you have to pay us $10 million. And they create trade tribunals, 3 judges, and the judges come primarily from corporations who are corporate lawyers. So they take leave from the corporate job, they go become a judge, they rule in favor of the corporation, they go back to the corporation. And as a result, you'll see no environmental laws, no labor laws, no consumer laws.
What's always good is when corporations are essentially monitoring themselves.
Isn't that disgusting?
Right. Well, it's Walmart is a big part of this because Walmart doesn't think that Chinese labor is low enough, so they're trying to get into Malaysia and Vietnam.
I mean,
They do. They have lived on their high horse for too long. Those
Exactly.
Chinese workers.
Well,
I mean,
are
Vietnam,
they
it's
fighting to get into the factories?
the per capita. That's what
Romney's quote
Romney says that. Yeah.
about how they were fighting to get in.
Yeah. Didn't you believe that? That's
Yeah,
why they
yeah.
have
Romney believed that, right?
Right.
Yeah. But the average per capita income in Vietnam is $1,000 a year.
Yeah.
So how can Americans compete? How can even Chinese compete? It's going to drive wages and it's going to drive jobs to
And worker
Vietnam
Well,
and wages down here.
Well, that's why I love that expression when people want to go against unions. They go, it makes us not competitive. Do you understand what you're asking to compete with? Like, you want us to be earning 5 cents an hour? Like,
what's really gross about it too is Obama's at the Democratic convention saying jobs, jobs, jobs. We're going to stop outsourcing. While his trade negotiator that weekend is negotiating this treaty that's going to be a gigantic job outsourcing. So he just says one thing
that's
in
par
public
for the
under the
course.
spotlight,
Yeah.
and
Right.
then says does the opposite behind the scenes.
Right. So to slightly shift gears, where do you see what do you see Occupy as right now? You've been very active in it, and and Freedom Plaza down in D.C. was where I first met you guys. And like, where do you see it headed now? What do you feel it is, and where should it go?
I think Occupy it's a very young movement. I think most people understand that this is a long-term struggle to reduce the wealth inequality in this country,
Yeah.
start building systems that actually meet
Yeah.
our human needs and undermine corporate power. I think right now we're really in the phase of education and movement building, and that's what a lot of Occupies are doing. They have working groups some are doing action, but a lot are focusing on educating about the issues. We brought the OccuCards with us tonight. Those are an excellent resource for people to learn about the specific issues of why we occupy. But I think this is hopefully going to be a cohesive movement of, a varied and creative and diverse movement that is focusing to end corporate rule and shift power to the people.
If you remember, Occupy was a tactic.
Right.
Yeah.
The bigger issue is how do we shift power from money to people, from corporations, profits to meeting human necessities. And so just like the Freedom Ride was a tactic in the civil rights struggle, Occupy is a tactic in this. And you may even want to go back and say the WTO protests in Seattle. Maybe that's the seeds of this. I mean, this is a bigger thing than just Occupy.
That's what I try, and I often put it in my sets. I'll say, you can call it Occupy, call it the Indignados, call it what's going on in Quebec. These things are all linked.
Right.
They're all very
Exactly.
similar.
Even the Chicago Teachers Union.
And so the
Yeah.
best thing
Yeah.
to say about the Occupy would be we can't predict what's going to happen next. But we can tell you something's going to happen next. There's a gigantic battle about to happen in the United States after the election. It'll be Obama, but no matter who's elected, it's going to be an attack on our social safety net, what's left of it, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, food stamps, all these social safety net protections are going to be attacked in an austerity budget. And that's going to really, I think, energize people again to take actions that we can't predict. And when you know you have a movement is when you can't predict what's going to happen, but something does happen.
Right.
And that's where we are. We're in a movement that people are. What happened with Occupy, the first phase, was people got a sense that they have power, that if they act, they can make a difference.
Right.
We had.
And they got a sense of how much people wanted to stop it.
Yes,
Like,
we were not alone. Not alone.
And that shows their
You-
fear.
and you weren't
that shows
alone,
how
that's right.
powerful we are.
And you
Yeah.
could see the government's reaction. They were
Right.
afraid. We have about 250,000, 300,000 people involved in Occupy. Can you imagine we have 1% of the population involved? That's 3 million.
Yeah.
If we get to 3 million or 10%, 30 million, those are not unreachable goals. And that's where we're heading. And so I think Occupy's future is that direction, and what the specific tactics are within the framework of an independent, nonviolent movement are hard to predict, but they will be reactions to continued corporate abuse of their power.
Okay, so all these things you've brought up that people have gone, what? I didn't know about that. Where can they find out more about it?
Well, TPP, we have a great little page called Flush the TPP, Flush the Toilet Paper Plus, flushthetpp.org, and you can see Margaret there on a gigantic tripod, 20 feet up in the air, blocking the negotiators from getting to their Leesburg retreat.
Excellent.
And so you can see the video about that. We also see a lot of articles about that.
Right, real information about what's in it that we know of.
Our two big websites would be OccupyWashingtonDC.org, which is about the Occupy movement. It's not just about what's happening in DC, but it's happening all over the country. And the other big website for us is It's Our Economy. That's our economic project. It's Our Economy.us, and that's to try to democratize the economy to give people more power in their economic lives.
Excellent.
Great.
Thank you guys so much.
Thanks a lot.
I appreciate it.
Legitimate rape is great birth control. So says Todd Aiken, and he ought to know. If we are raped, we can rest unafraid, 'cause we can't get pregnant if forcibly laid. Our female bodies are clever that way. We only get pregnant if we say okay. God told him, so it must be so. The stork only comes if we don't say no. Rape won't make babies, and that is a fact. There's no global warming, the earth's really flat. We heard it on Fox Noise, so it must be true. Well, Mr. Aiken, we say, Fox you.